Christmas time, when you listen to carols and receive Christmas cards, you will often hear or see the word peace. This word comes from the stories that surround the birth of Jesus, as outlined in the Bible. But when you think about peace and the world we live in, the idea of real peace can sound like wishful thinking, or perhaps a fairy tale. As the Christmas story in the Bible unfolds, and we see in nativity scenes today, the idea of peace is introduced as a key reason for the celebration song the angels sang, announcing Jesus' birth to the shepherds on the hills outside the sleepy town of Bethlehem. In fact, the very words that they sang were, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men." However, when we think about the world into which Jesus was born, conflicts and division seem part of his life, and also that of so many of his followers' lives since that time. In the last 2,000 years, many wars have been fought under the name of religion. So perhaps this promise of peace can seem like a dream or even a lie. If the birth of Jesus was indeed to bring a new age of peace on earth, history could perhaps seem to suggest that it was a failed experiment.
Yet the Bible story says that this idea of peace was not blind enthusiasm on the part of the angels. And in fact, we find that peace was not even a new theme in the big picture story of the relationship that God desires to have with all humanity. In what has become one of the best known predictions of the birth of Jesus from the Hebrew Bible, the prophet Isaiah wrote over 700 years before the birth of Jesus, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace." When you think about it, these are very big and bold claims about what a newborn baby will accomplish. But these claims are at the very heart of the Jesus story, about who he was and about his mission to rescue humanity from non-peace, from the reality of life. Although the claim of Prince of Peace may not seem to fit well with some of our observation of history, the prophet Isaiah clearly said, "His government and its peace will never end. He will rule with fairness and justice from the throne of his ancestor David for all eternity." Are these scriptures merely a feel-good thought for the Christmas season? Are they wishful thinking? Or do they perhaps point to something that could actually be really important for us to grasp and understand? Something that could impact our lives right now, today, and give us hope for the future.
Real peace, true peace, is not simply the absence of conflict. Those seeking superficial peace may be content just to put an end to literal fighting or unrest. And for those living in war-torn parts of our world or experiencing situations of abuse, perhaps discrimination or tension, an end to those situations is a good thing in itself. The guns falling silent, stopping abuse, restoring relationships are an important and necessary step. But that step alone does not result in a much deeper, complete peace. A peace that comes only from justice, true reconciliation, healing, forgiveness, and restoration. Some of the very best moments of human history have resulted from the story and teachings of Jesus, and they have led to this deeper kind of peace. These are situations where people of faith and people of goodwill have worked for the fairness and justice that Jesus envisaged and the angels sang about. Peace has indeed been made in history, and today, in some corners of our world, by the influence of the Prince of Peace. However, because we still don't live in a totally peaceful world, this desired outcome of complete peace is still so obviously and sometimes tragically an incomplete project. The experience of peace the angels sang about is still yet to be realised. This is the far larger, the enormous and global promise of the complete peace found in the story of the birth of Jesus. This story offers and invites reconciliation for the broken relationships, not only between all people, but between humanity and God. We are all offered renewal and restoration to the initial and intended ideal. So in a real way, Christ himself has brought peace to us. This offer of peace is not the silent night of snowy Christmas cards and carols on which the whole world supposedly paused in wonder to greet the newborn baby. But it is the announcement of something completely different had come into the world, and as a result, the experience of complete peace for eternity was now available.
In his life and teaching, Jesus did not always sound like a preacher of peace. He was sometimes blunt about issues, called out injustice, ignored customs and social classes, and then talked about the trouble and persecution that would be experienced by those who would choose to follow him. He died on a wooden cross just outside the city gates in full public view, and many of his followers throughout history have also suffered. He said, "I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world." But because he didn't experience peace, because he willingly took full responsibility for our weaknesses and failings, he gave us the enormous gift of being able to experience his deep, promised peace, not only now, but for all eternity. So it is not that all those Christmas cards and carols are wrong. It is perhaps that they, and we, don't take this promise of real peace seriously enough. The story of the birth of the Prince of Peace offers that deeper, more transformative, and a forever kind of peace, the peace that we all desire.
So this Christmas, we again wish you peace in your homes, in your families, in your communities, but also in your hearts and your minds, in what you do, who you are, and in what you are becoming. May the real peace of Christmas fill all our lives, fuel our imaginations, and transform our world.